So the inner earth beings, I often connect with them at different power spots and different energy places. And right now we're in Southwest Colorado, but one of the main areas to connect with the inner earth beings, and especially the Teloshians, is Mount Shasta. Now, I was in Mount Shasta several times, but this last July I was there, and we went on a journey through the mountains, and we went to a cave, and I was doing some rattling, and easily and quickly started connecting, and again visualize going down through the soil, deep into the earth, down through some caverns and tunnels. And I connected with Serena, which seemed to be a relative of Adama. And of course she was very serene and calm, just like inner earth beings are. They're not only calm and serene, but they're also very strong and of course very spiritually filled. And so she showed me her dwellings there, and they were like terracotta looking, natural, a lot of curves in the doorways and the windows. And it's terracotta, but there was like blue and some green and even orange crystals throughout the walls. And the furniture was mostly circular and very simple. And it was just a nice, quiet place, and earthy smells. And of course Serena had the white hair, the large blue eyes that I mentioned, very slender, the long arms. She wore like a light blue robe and with the white on the edges. And from there she motioned for me to walk down this pathway, and the pathway was lined with very healthy plants and hanging lichen, very long hanging plants. And we were on our way to an amphitheater for a meeting there, and she had her like bronze colored necklace on with a certain pattern, and the other people there who attended the meeting, they all had necklaces, but some groups had different designs on them. But on our way to the amphitheater, I looked up and I could see the temple up above, and the temple was just vibrating with light, and it was surrounded by like a blue and pink plasma, and it was built into a large, looked like rock crystal structure, and above it was a large crystal with some blue rays coming down that was inverted, so the point was to the top of the temple and going up. And we went to the actual meeting spot, and it was maybe, it seemed like about 50, 60 Teloshians there. And again, they had the long robes. Some of the Teloshians in front had the green long shiny robes, like emerald looking. And then off to the side were the ant people. Now, I have encountered the ant people before in Arizona, in the Arizona deserts. And these were a little taller, and they were definitely invited to the meeting, and they had a large part in what they were discussing. And they were like off to the side, and they were just very disciplined and very focused. And we sat down, and the chairs, they have both the curved chairs and also the regular chairs, but no matter which ones you sit on, as soon as you sit down, you feel like the vibrating energy, and you feel very grounded. So I was there, and they were discussing different things, and then went off in a meditation, and it was a very deep meditation. And then at the end, Serena took my hand and she blessed me, and then I went up and I felt again my fifth dimensional self, and fourth going up back into my body in the cave in the third dimension, and back with the rest of the group. And then we continued on our hike up the mountainside. So that was a wonderful experience. But then it inspired me actually to really immerse more with the Inner Earth people. And the next day I was in the forest around the mountain, Mount Shasta and Shastina, and I met up with who I thought was a Dhamma. Had very long blonde hair, strong energy, of course, again, very peaceful. And he transmitted to me that it would be good for continued communication with the Inner Earth people, and not just there, not just around that area, but also throughout different parts of the country and the world too, wherever you're at, for groups of people to really connect more, not just with the earth and the earth energies, but also Inner Earth. And you can do that just by intending, but also rattling and drumming helps, and I brought my rattle today. And to do that and to really elevate the energy of the groups. And also it would be helpful when there are more earth changes and with the solar flares happening, and if they increase, that it would be good for people to have a strong core presence and also a strong group presence where you can gather together. And then for the people that are in more, actually more areas that are a little, maybe a little dicey and so on, or major cities, for them to go ahead and know a way to these power places and to have that set up so they can either be there already with the coming times or able to get there. And then so I did, again, I was inspired even more, and whenever I was in southeastern Utah, which I go to quite a bit, I was there in rock country like here we are today, similar terrain, and really I was rattling and very quickly connected with the Inner Earth. And this time it was a little different, went down through tunnels, and there were also steps to go down, and there were large vines that were just coming down from different caves and so on. And in these caves are where younger groups of the community, of the Inner Earth community, would meet. And this is where they would have their discussions and play their kind of music. It's like flute music. And then they would have these lanterns that it was like a plant material to light up as it started getting dark in these lanterns. And then going down to the valley, for below the earth or Inner Earth, the valleys were very lush. It was just quite remarkable. A lot of streams going by, pure water. Their dwellings were very simple, and the roofs were like of moss, and a very simple, looked like what we have here is clay for their dwellings, and very clean. And they farmed a lot, and their plants were like, compared to here, a lot of their plants were like the rutabaga, or like a spinach type, a chard, that. So that's what they were farming in this little section at the time. And as you can imagine, very fertile. In the streams, certain kinds of fish were, of course, happily swimming through the streams, and they didn't eat much meat, or they don't eat meat, but no, sometimes fish. And so occasionally, for like once a week, every 2 weeks, if they had a banquet, then they would have these fish with all their vegetables. And then the people were, again, very serene and calm and strong sturdy, and they were just a just a little bit wider than the people of Telos, and their hair is mostly brown with hints of red, and they really had it braided a lot and put up and braided and twined together, both the men and the women, or the women and the men. And there's some sturdier ones there of the race that seem to be intermingled or interbred with like a dwarf type race. And they were the ones that were the even stronger workers, and they also they went to the mines, and they would mine all kind of magnificent crystals there, and bring them back to the temples. And then going on up in the canyon walls and the walls of the mesas and canyons would be other dwellings where the more of the teachers and the thinkers lived. And again, they lived very simply but serenely. And then ribbons of waterfalls, lots of them coming down. So if you can envision like a Yosemite, but more lush and green and just continuous waterfalls and valleys. And then up on the actual top would be some plains, again fertile, but in the hillsides of those plains were the temples. And surrounding the temples were different spaces where people would congregate and have their meetings and so on, and they would just meet about the happenings of the other inner earth peoples and how they could collaborate together. And of course the temples are vibrating with light. And then occasionally they would go on excursions to more of the core area of the earth. It would be a long trek, and of course they did have different kinds of animals that they could ride on, not the same that we have if they needed to, but go more to the core. And there's an area where similar to what we have with the Grand Canyon, where you look down and you see the canyon, where this area there would be some openings in the earth, and they could actually see and feel the green emerald light coming up from the core. So again, just really wonderful, nice journeys there, and I hope to visit even more frequently.